Shalom, shalom. Kol halalina Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders, elder bishops of Great Millstone. And shalom to the prophets of that body. And shalom to the 144,001 May peace and blessings be upon your households. Okay. Brakti Yahweh, Brakti Hashai, Brakti Yahweh, Brakti Hashai, Brakti Yahweh, Brakti Hashai, Bahashem Rakakwadash. Okay. Now, verse of the day. I'm trying to just focus and not digress too much. Okay, let's go to the verse of the day, right? Verse of the day, Matthew 18:3, right? And let's just read it here. It says, unless you change and become like little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. Therefore, whoever takes the lowly position of this child is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. Whoever welcomes one such child in my name welcomes me. All right. Now, this is obviously not the King James Version, but nevertheless, it's still, giving you what the world would say, simple English to understand what the Lord is saying, right? You basically, if you've got to become a little child, you've got to let go of all the Western, even Jake sometimes follows into that feminism nonsense of like putting women up on pedestals and everything, and following this Western mentality of we are the world, and it's okay to be a Mo, and it's okay to have your woman rule over you, and it's okay to celebrate these wacky tacky crazy holidays and such as Christmas or Halloween, but they're meant to be such staunch so-called Christians, but then they are, here they are carving up pumpkins on Halloween and all that, you've got to get rid of the thought processes, all that's been engraved in your mind of this crazy, demonic, disgusting world that we're in, where you feel you need to have at least 10 showers a day. And I know a lot of you Jakes feel that way. You could be out there in the elements. You've had a shower. You've just been around the people. You just might have gone to the store to grab some milk or whatever, right? You feel that you got to have a shower again, man, because this place is just so gross, It just irks your skin. You know what I mean? I'm sure you guys feel like that, As soon as you get back home, you feel like, you want to just immerse yourself in the scriptures and watch the apostles and elders and just be immersed and meditate and praise the name of Yahweh Bashem Hashai. And that's the only place we get comfort, man. Straight up. Rakti Habashem Hashai Bahashem Rakakadash, man. For this beautiful truth. Seriously. It's beautiful, man. Yeah, so like I was saying, you got to really become like a babe. You got to you got to wash your mind of all the nonsense you've been given, spoon-fed from the ages, from being in kindergarten, nursery, to your early schooling, all that bullshit that you've been consuming. You've got to, basically regurgitate. You've got to throw that up. You've got to take it out of your system. You've got to cleanse yourself. You've got to start from scratch. And ultimately, it's Yahweh Bashim Hashai who's going to give you that mindset to take in this knowledge, because the elect have been chosen from the beginning and from the foundation of the earth. You can't make yourself the elect. You can't make yourself believe, because believing and faith is a gift. Okay, believing in Yahweh Bashim Hashai is a gift. Okay, because when you get up and pray every morning and you call upon the name of Yahweh Bashim Hashai, and you fear that name, because you might do wrong here and there. You might have some crazy thoughts in your mind, which you don't want to think about, but they just jump in your mind. That's a demon. Crazy thought might jump in your mind. Oh yeah, I like to bang both those women together, for example. I mean, we men, that happens. That jumps in your mind. You know what I mean? Because we're in a demonic world. But you got to cast that demon away. Oh yeah, I want a threesome, all that kind of crazy shit. 2 women together. It's just that's a demon. You don't want to think it, but it just jumps in your mind. Think, where the fuck did that come from? You got to rebuke that as well. Constantly praising the name and rebuking. you know. So we all go off, but when it comes to this truth, you gotta be chosen, you know. You gotta ultimately the elect have their own story as well, you know. So they ultimately the elect are gonna humble down. They're gonna be like little children, and all the questions that they had as children spiritually throughout their life, that they thought, why is it like this? Why is it like that? Why is it like this? Why is this? You know, who's, you know, all these things like I had. And all those questions are answered, you know? And sometimes you might have a question in your mind that's popping here and there within 24 to 48 hours, or even sooner or later, depending on how Bashim Shai wants to give you the answer. You might watch a video of an elder and that question is answered. The Lord answered your question through one of the prophets, you know? Let's go to Matthew 18:3, you know, King James Version. Matthew 18:3, and said, verily I say unto you, except ye be converted and become as little children, ye shall not enter into the kingdom of heaven. You've got to become like a child again, not literally go back in time, get into a time machine. I'm going to go back in time. You know, I'm going to go back to when I'm 5 years old. No, we're talking about the mindset to get rid of all those negative thought processes, those Babylonian, Romanesque, feminism, uh, Western mindset. You got to get rid of that. You know, you got to start from scratch. You know, and taking the Eastern mentality, the real Orient, which means basically East, the Eastern mindset, because we are from the East, right? And said, verily I say unto you, except ye be converted and become as little children, ye shall not enter into the kingdom of heaven. Verse 4, whosoever therefore shall humble himself as little, whosoever therefore shall humble himself as this little child, the same is the greatest, the same is greatest in the kingdom of heaven. So you've got to be a babe again, you know, a babe. Go to 1 Peter 2:2. As newborn babes, desire the sincere milk of the word, that ye may grow thereby. You know, so you start off with the milk scriptures, you know, the Genesis is the Deuteronomy 28:68, just to sort of pinpoint, okay, yeah, we are in the scriptures. This actually did happen to us. And then from there, all the pieces start coming together and start creating a beautiful picture of the gospel. And the gospel means good news for the elect. You know, it starts coming together. You understand? And milk, you can't get that, you know, because you don't need all the deep stuff when you start. You know, you don't need uh, the steak pieces. You don't need the lambs, the lamb bites or the lamb chops. You know, you don't need the 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 bread at the moment. You need to have the milk. You know, so you can digest it. You can understand, so you don't choke up on it. You know, and then you go for the main course. And how do you go for the main course? Yahweh Shemashah puts a spirit on you because you are part of that number, right? Lord willing, if you are part of that number, and then you learn from the prophets, man, and from our apostles on down, you know, as well as doing some digging yourself, because uh, you're supposed to study to show yourself, study to show thyself approved. Yeah, you know, you should study yourself as well. Paraphrasing the scripture there, you know, make a sincere effort to learn yourself as well, you know, as much as you can, and the Lord will open up your mind spiritually, you know, will let you know what time it is, you know. And this is the main thing, you know. You can try and pretend to be like a young child. You can act. You can do the acting, but the Lord knows what's going on. Who's His, right? The Lord knows who His children are, right? Because you have to be chosen ultimately. John 15:16. Ye have not chosen me, but I have chosen you, and ordained you that ye should go and bring forth fruit, fruit, and that your fruit should remain, that whatsoever ye shall ask of the Father in my name, He may give it you. All right. Right. So therefore, you've got to be chosen. And remember one part here as well, emphasis here. Ask whatsoever ye shall ask of the Father in my name. All right. So even Yahweh Shai is saying, you know, you have to ask the Most High in His name. Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. Okay. So you gotta have the correct names as well. In my name, ask of the Father in my name. Okay, what's the Most High's name? What's His Son's name? Thou canst tell, right? And the elect have the name. Which one is this? Yeah, John 17:6. I have manifested thy name unto the men which thou gavest me out of the world. Thine they were, and thou gavest them me, and they have kept thy word. I have manifested thy name unto the men which thou gavest me out of the world. Thine they were, and thou gavest them me, and they have kept thy word. The elect are trying to keep, are trying to change their ways. They're trying to, keep the high holy days as best as possible, change their mindset as best as possible. Most importantly, they're praying in the name, man. They're praying in the name, you know. They're trying to change themselves in every single way, spiritually, physically, mentally, you know, as best as they possibly can in the hell that we got to endure every single day until the Lord returns, you know. Because on this side, you can't really keep everything properly, man. You know, you got to sometimes work on the Shabbat. Sometimes you got to do chores on the Shabbat because they can't be helped. They have to be done. It's a necessity. You know what I mean? Uh, sometimes, but what you can do is on the Shabbat, if you got to work and all that, you won't deal with your woman that day. You won't cook unless you absolutely have to that day. You know, you might prepare something the night before. Have it cold or just eat cereal all day. Or better yet, fast. You know, you do everything to the best of your ability. Because remember, we're in a world that's controlled by the opposition. All right, that are adverse to the ways of Yahweh Hashem Ashai, which are these damn heathens. And these heathens have made everything good evil and everything evil good. So you're trying to be a righteous person in an evil world, you know. But Yahweh Hashem Ashai will put the spirit on you to endure these things and overcome these hurdles, man. All right, you know. And the elect shall praise his holy name. Ecclesiasticus 17:10. And the elect shall praise his holy name. You can understand the scriptures. You can be a ninja at it. You can wear the fringes. You can do all that. That's beautiful. But if you don't call upon the name and you're still calling Jeebus, Jesus, all right, how have you grown? You're basically the same Jake as you were in the world because you were calling on the same name. It's the name that is the key. You got elect members out there that may not be ninjas, spiritual ninjas with the scriptures, from this precept to that precept. You know what I mean? Youngsters in that are sort of young in the truth, so to speak. They're digesting the milk scriptures. But you know what it is? They still are part of that number, because you know why? Because they praise the name of Yahweh Hashem Shai and they call upon it, you know. So therefore, the elect shall call upon the name. Anything else I'll add to it? So this was Matthew 18:3. So you've got to be like a child again to understand this truth, mindset wise. Anyway, I'm gonna leave it there. Shalom and shalom, Baba.